Hello, Lightkeepers. I am so glad you're here today. I have such a very, very special guest, near and dear to my heart, Jill Kane. What if the life you're searching for isn't somewhere else, but waiting to be noticed right where you are? That's what this episode is all about. I met Jill Kane in a Kathy Heller community, and she is amazing. Jill Kane believes the life we're longing for isn't somewhere in the future. It's often hiding in the ordinary moments we're living right now. After a stage 4 cancer diagnosis left her unable to walk for nearly a year, Jill discovered that healing wasn't found in pushing harder, striving more, or waiting for life to get better. It was found in slowing down, paying attention, creating, and learning to notice life differently. With a master's degree in community arts and more than 2 decades of experience helping people navigate change through creativity, storytelling, and connection, Jill is the creator of Find Everyday Magic. Today, she helps women notice what they've been missing: beauty in the mess, meaning in the mundane, and possibly in the ordinary moments they often overlook. Her work is guided by a simple question: what if the life you're searching for is already here? Welcome, Jill. I am so glad you're here, and I love that. Oh my goodness, you have such a story to tell, and I know this is gonna resonate with so many people and help many. I wanted to just start out with, before the cancer entered into your life, how would you describe yourself, Jill?
I am a spiritual person. I'm a creative. I love personal development. And what I mean by that is like learning and knowing self. I, at a young age, was the person that sort of always loved the personality profile tests.
Oh.
Like I would collect them. I'm like, oh, I'm an ENFP. Oh, I'm this. There's Gallup strengths, there's Enneagram. I just sort of always loved the idea of learning about myself and getting to know myself and how I was created. And I really believed that that knowledge was going to help me love myself more and integrate better with people and show up in a way where I understood myself. I knew what was my part. I knew what somebody else's part. So I would say curious and creative and interested in getting to know myself and others better, and a lover of people and community. Community can be complicated, but I do love the nuance of people and how we're wired and how we do what we do or why we do what we do.
Sounds like you were pretty centered, and you were
I wasn't
you pretty much knew yourself, maybe
I
even your soul
did.
purpose.
That's why cancer I was like, what are you and where did you come from?
Isn't that the
I'm
truth? Oh
in a
my
really
gosh.
good place. I don't know why this is here. So I've been a person that's been introspective and doing personal development for a long time. Some of it is I had a traditional religious upbringing. And so that is a culture of curiosity and spirituality and introspection. And while I stepped away from the formal structure of that, I kind of always maintained that as a person. But I had the thing that was really the struggling point for me was I was an overgiver.
Mm.
So I was a people pleaser. If we look at culture and how it informs who you are as a person, my traditional religious culture was that of serving, putting
Mm.
yourself at the bottom. When there's when Jesus is your role model, it's a little bit hard to not feel like you got to try again. You got to do that differently. You got to always serve. And as a woman in that culture, the traits really were service, die to self, sacrifice. And so at the time prior to my illness, I was a mom and I was working part time and I was a yes person. It was like, sure, I can
Mm.
make it work.
Mm. Oh wow. You just froze. I don't know if you can hear me, but this is amazing. So Jill just froze. I think we have a lot of spirits here today. Did you hear
I'm
me?
here. Yeah, I'm here and can see you and hear you the whole
Okay.
time.
That
Fine
was
for
crazy. That I think I'm going to have to be doing Palo Santo because my last interview, the same thing happened. I
it.
happened. So, anybody here? that's here. You can leave now. I know that everybody's excited to be a part of this. I know you're all of the higher light, but we want this
Yeah.
to keep going.
Yeah. Sometimes I have
That's
curiosity on that. Like, ooh, does
isn't
somebody not like, I truly believe that the story I have to tell and the way that I've experienced divine transformation, that there are certain entities that don't want that to get out. Because I truly believe that my story and the way that I've healed has the power to really transform people's lives. And I think with every light, there's darkness. And so darkness loves, I love Brene Brown when she talked about like shame being a petri dish and in a petri dish. And it's like it needs the darkness and the silence and to just grow. And so
Mm.
I'm a person that comes from an addiction background.
Oh, okay.
So I had to learn how to be brave and to let the light in and to let the
Mm.
people into my story. And when I did that, the shame softened and it dissipated. So sometimes when I'm sharing my story and it's blocked somehow, there's been what feels like a lot of stuck blockage in life. I just get really curious on
Mhm.
what is here for me. What do I need to know?
Yeah, that's
Um,
so interesting. Wow.
yeah.
Going back to your identity, would you pre-cancer, would you feel that it was tied to productivity? I know the whole people pleaser, overgiving, surviving. Would you also?
My origin story is usually around not being enough,
Mm,
smart
okay.
enough, not enough. I
Mm-hmm.
was a undiagnosed ADHD kid
Mm-hmm.
in a traditional school setting. My
Mm.
gifts were communication, and I was told to stop talking and sit down. So I am sad. Little Jill was like, hey, girl, hey, and bright and vibrant. And again, my parents were doing the best they could with what they had. And that was the boundary in the box I was put into. And I did as well as I could. But, you know, it was hard to feel smart. It was hard. I could not perform in that way. So when I graduated, I also have a little bit of a
Oh, there we go. A little frozen again. I think you can hear me, but you froze. So this is probably something really, really potent that we all want to hear. But for our listeners, she's frozen again.
let me ask, let me text my husband and son to get off all tech to see if that's it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how this works. I've got 25 bars where I'm at, but let's see here. Please get off all tech.
I love that. The CEO of the house has just said, okay, alert everybody. Everybody get off all tech because I'm freezing.
Walk. So I'm like, we're not even here. I'm like, okay.
Okay, that's even better. We're not even, did he say that? We're not even here?
No, he
Oh,
didn't.
okay.
All right. I can invite whenever. Hello.
Yeah.
Whoever might be with us today. You're
Yeah.
all yeah.
Time to leave. Time to leave. Let us keep sharing our story. Well,
Thank
take us back. Well, before we go to the stage 4 cancer diagnosis, you did say a little bit about, and if you want to pass, no problem. I honor whatever people want to speak about, but you talked a little bit about addiction. Is this something you personally or your
Yeah.
family?
I mean, I have like an addictive personality.
Hmm.
So it can be a little compulsive sometimes. It can be a little addictive. And so, my origins around that were food. My
Hmm.
origins around that was overspending in money. And so
Oh,
I say that,
you.
oh yeah,
Oh, wow.
because I was raised in a traditional religious culture where
Okay.
there's these black and whites. And
Yeah.
humans are nuanced. And when
Yes.
you tell yourself no, 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 and you don't have curiosity and you don't listen and you're just quiet and shove, it all needs to be seen and heard and expressed. And in
Absolutely.
my experience, when I gave space for that part of me to have a voice, all of that stopped. I
Hmm.
didn't need that anymore. I established real, true connection with humans. I got to know myself better. It was like, if food and a new shirt is not going to fix this, what is this feeling that you have that you're trying to stuff and push away? And
Yeah.
so I had to learn to really sit with and listen to those parts of me that in a religious culture I was told to ignore, fight, deny. I love an internal family systems model of personal development, which is they're all a part of me. And that,
They are.
and oftentimes they just need love and seen and heard, and they're
Yeah.
okay. Elizabeth Gilbert has such a great kind of lens on this when she talks
Mm.
about fear. And oftentimes fear can drive the car or the bus for a person. And so people think, I've just got to get rid of fear. I've got to. And she's like, no, you're never going to get rid of fear. It's
Mm-mm.
a normal human emotion. Your practice is to move it out of the driver's seat and into
Mm.
the passenger seat. Your goal is to actually move it to the back seat or even the trunk. It's like you can come along for the ride, but you cannot drive the car. You cannot touch the radio station, and you cannot be mean to people in the vehicle.
That is a great
So,
visual. Is that her most recent book?
I don't know which book it was. I had the chance to
Okay.
workshop with her
Oh,
maybe 10 years ago, something like that.
okay.
But it's an analogy that's really stuck with me, even for the parts of me that feel unimpressive, not beautiful,
Mm.
not enough. Rather than to hide them or shame them, to love them and to
Yeah.
let them know they're okay. That was the number one thing that I did on my healing journey that I really believe for me. I cannot speak for other people. I cannot speak about cancer and healing as a whole. I can speak for me to say, when I was diagnosed, I chose to use language that was loving and kind.
Oh,
I
full body chills.
fighting language. This was not a battle. This was not a fight. This was not a
Mm-mm.
fuck you. Excuse me.
No, no, that's fine. I
There
love
were
it.
moments of that, but I intentionally redirected it back to, I love you. I'm
Mm.
so sorry that you're
Mm.
out of ease. I truly believe that sickness is a disease, dis-ease. There's a not ease. What needs to be touched and loved to feel more at ease? And that was very intentional. Like I said, I'm a human. There's fear, there's anger, there's all of that still shows up every day. And we as people are practicing and learning how to redirect that energy, our own and the energy that we get from other people that's overwhelming and negative
Mm.
and oppressive.
That's so beautiful. Well, take us back to just a couple steps back now. Thank you for the little tangent. You're spot on and everything. Same thing. Check. But take us back to receiving your stage 4 diagnosis. What happened emotionally, mentally, and spiritually? And do you remember the moment? I did a little research on you and I saw, but share with our listeners because many of them may not know your story.
Well, I like to start my story with I was just beginning a brand new place of stepping into love and autonomy. I had young kids and I predominantly stayed home with them and, sort of built a business on the side. And I felt ready to go back and do more work.
Mm-hmm.
And I put myself out there. I got a job. I was getting the most I'd ever gotten. And within 6 weeks, I was diagnosed. And not only was I diagnosed, I wasn't walking. My cancer in particular had showed up in my shoulder to start. And doctors thought it was like, I'm 48 now, but it was 45, 46. Oh, frozen shoulder. Oh, menopause symptoms. All of these things, which, yes, those were menopause symptoms. I started that PT and things. But one morning had been sleeping in a chair, actually right where I am right now. And I went to go to the bathroom and couldn't walk.
Oh.
And I, used the dresser behind me to make my way and I collapsed. And my husband was like, what's going on? And I was like, I can't really stand or move my body. And he's like, okay. And so, of course, what do I do? Do we call an emergency room ER? No. I say, okay, let's get the kids up and let's get them ready for school. Let's fulfill my job and my responsibilities and make sure everybody else is okay. and then I'll take care of myself. So Brad, my husband, got the kids on the bus. I scoot off the chair. I'm scooting through the house, down the stairs, all the way to the front lawn. And he is helping me go into the car, and we drive to the ER, and scans are done. And they're like, I'm so sorry. There is a tumor pressing against your spinal cord.
Mm.
I'm so sorry. There's tumors everywhere, all throughout your
Oh,
body.
oh my gosh.
And
Everywhere. Say that again. Everywhere where?
everywhere, all throughout your body.
All throughout
And
your body.
it started here, but all of a sudden there's a tumor on my spine. And there's
Describe where here is, because some of
left
our listeners aren't watching the
shoulder,
video.
left shoulder.
Uh-huh.
And for midlife ladies, it felt like frozen shoulder.
Okay.
It hurt. There was starting to be like a bump there. I had got cortisone shots. I was in PTs. Some of it was steps, but as we moved along, I was like, also, I should say, I'm a super positive person.
I can
So
tell.
I was like, it's no big deal. It's fine.
Yeah.
Did not want to imagine it being anything. I just started a new job. I was stepping into my power and my light and my opportunity.
Ugh.
I thought, no way, no way. And there was something that a doctor said they thought I think it's called a bursa. They're like, maybe it's a bursa. You might need surgery. And I was like, well, I can't do surgery. I've just started a new job. This is my season in my career. And then I got an MRI, and that doctor's like, yeah, it's a tumor.
Mm.
Tumor. And so, like I said earlier, did I want to say, I hate you? I'm going to bite you. I remember asking, like, can you just cut it out? And I can, and they're like, we'd have to take your whole arm. And I was like, this is a thing. This is
This is a thing.
a thing.
This is a thing.
I had been doing some acupuncture at the time for the pain from this. And the acupuncturist is like, had a nursing background. And she's like, this is going to be a thing. And at the time, I did not want things. I wanted to move forward. I wanted to stop just being a mom and stop being a wife. I was intentionally seeking, stepping into my light and my power. And this felt like, at first, a really big black cloud. And I'll say this story. This is the very, very interesting story. I was transferred via ambulance from one hospital to the next in the city. And I arrive at the hospital, and I hear the GPS on the phone say, or their system say, you've arrived at 111 South 11. And I was
Full
like,
body chills, 111.
so 1111
Yeah.
to cancer had been a number that had been symbolic to me. I think everybody has different lens on what numbers are, but for me, it was hey girl, hey, you're not alone. I see you.
I got you.
Your guides are with you. So to have the hospital be that number, and then I'm put into a room. I had been an incredibly healthy person. I'd never had any hospital stays prior to having kids. And so I'm on like a really high floor, and I'm looking out, and this is in Philadelphia. I'm like, what a gorgeous view. And it's also the juxtaposition of, I'm not walking, I'm not with my family. My kids are 7 and 10, 8 and 11 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And my other thought was, wow, it's really quiet here. This feels
Mm.
good to my body. And so I could notice and get curious about those things. I don't feel guilty saying that. Some woman come to me and be like, I can't believe she could say that about her. No, I love you. You're probably feeling the exact same thing. You're just not giving yourself permission to say it out loud. And that's okay. But I got curious about all of those things that I was noticing, because part
Wow.
of me thought, this is the worst thing that could ever happen.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? Why is this happening to me? And what is here for me? I
Wow.
truly believe that in every situation, there is magic and beauty in it. Sometimes in the moment, you can't see it clearly.
Yep.
And it is also an active practice to choose to see it. This is not toxic positivity. This is not washing over hard things with light and magic for kumbaya. This is feeling what is hard and noticing what part of you is overwhelmed and using tools to move through it and putting your lens on what's wrong or putting your lens on what's possible. When
Jill,
my
Jill, I just have to say something. You're amazing. You're freaking amazing. And you know my story, and it's the Lightkeeper's path. And I have guests and I talk about getting through the storm and finding your inner light. What I find so fascinating and so applaud you is that you went into this deep storm, but you were fully equipped. You had all the gear on board. You had all of it, and you completely, it sounds like when you were in this deepest, darkest storm, you had all the protocol. You were prepared to go deep in the darkness and the unknown, and you surrendered. Am I correct?
Yes.
Pretty amazing. Because, you
Yeah.
know, when I went through my storm, I didn't know. I just flat out surrendered. I
Mm.
didn't have all the what you're saying. I've done all the deep work in the last three and a
I
half
didn't get
years.
to the good part.
Oh, get to the good
I
part.
I didn't
Okay.
surrender easily.
Oh,
I wasn't able to walk, and then, I'm starting to learn how to walk again. I'm home, and I open people are so generous to give you food while you're sick for your family. I opened the fridge, and it was a mess. And I'm not type A, but I'm a little bit of a KonMari love. Like, I love a little bento box. I love a little cheese goes to the left and fruit goes to the right. And I opened it with my walker, and I'm like leaning against with my walker trying to move stuff, and I collapsed and I broke my foot.
oh,
That was the moment that I was like, okay, got it. I now really can't walk, and I've broken a foot. I had chipped and like broke a tooth. I was like, got it. You want me to sit the F down?
mm,
What do you want me to know? Because had I gotten cancer and had been able to walk, I never would have stopped. I would have kept pushing and pleasing and going, sure, I got it. Sure, no problem. That inability to walk and being in a chair made me realize that if giving was a cycle, there was a giving and receiving. And I was give and hijack right back up to give. And my identity was giving.
mm-hmm,
It was maybe people pleasing. I had done Brene Brown work and been excavating my worth and value to be I am enough, but I
mm-hmm,
was still an over giver. And so in a cycle like that, I really felt like God, the universe, whatever it is, was saying, I want you to learn how to receive. And I remember being like, at first it was like, okay, I'll receive now so I can give later. I remember my sister, some people gave some financial donations, which was just ridiculously generous for our family. And I was like, how do I thank them? How do I do she goes, can you just live? Maybe
mm,
if you just lived, that would be the gift back. And so learning how to receive is a practice because my identity and worth was based on being valuable by service.
mm-hmm.
And that season, I didn't really have a lot to offer,
Yeah.
especially if I was going to do the work that needed to be done to heal my body. And so that was, of course, that's going off now. That was a season, I'll use the words selfish
Mm-hmm.
because that's what the world would say, but it was self-protective and self-focused, and it was focused on listening and knowing what I needed to know so that my body could heal. I choose to believe an ailment is a message. It's here to tell you something.
Yeah.
And I wanted to listen so that I would never have to do this again. And I listened and received and was filled with so much gratitude that now that I'm back in the real world and walking again, it's like I have a vibration or a memory of what it feels like to overgive and to give and to receive. I listen differently. Do I still overgive? Oh, yeah, I do. I don't know if that's just a female thing or like a like a I people are hurting. I don't know how we don't support each other. And I know I'm not selfish if I don't. I know that somebody else will help when I can't. I know my body doesn't let me do the same things, the same speed, the same way that it used to. And so if I'm not going to get sick again, I have to listen and honor what she's asking for and what she needs, even if it means that other people are going to feel disappointed. I've had to learn how to not own that. And I never could. I didn't know that. I thought I could own everybody's feelings. I could not. But I had to learn to tune in and listen. And that, I don't like to say hard. That's an intentional practice.
It is. It's discernment.
It is an intentional practice to notice what you're noticing and notice, oh God, somebody's asked me to do something. I'm about to say yes. I'm going to pause. What part of me wants to say yes?
Mm.
What part of me is about to do something? Because some part of me is like, don't do that, girl. And some part of me is like, hey, girl, hey, that's what we do. And so just pause and notice those parts of you. Sometimes I still do it. Sometimes I don't. But the skill I learned was the pause and the breath and the listening and the body. I used to be in my head a lot prior to cancer.
Mm.
And I worked with a sound practitioner
Mm.
and one that does Alexander technique to learn how to get in my body and to stay in my body and stay present in my body to learn how to make decisions differently moving forward.
That's so beautiful. Well, I'm just curious. I mean, I think we both know the answer, but do you think our culture celebrates accomplishment more than presence? Because it sounds like your journey is, look, now I need to be present. No, I want to be present because when I'm present, the magic happens and I don't overdo. I listen to my body.
So I believe in this grand human experiment that we have that all humans are looking for love and connection.
Yeah.
And so when we are the smallest of people, we are absolutely dependent on other people for that. And
Mm.
so we adapt to get attention for food, for love, for nourishment.
Mm-hmm.
And through adapting, we survive. And as we get older and we have more autonomy and agency, those parts of us are still functioning like we don't. And so I feel like a lot of us, in our effort to belong and survive, start performing. If
Mm.
I need food from someone, and that is a biological parent or a adoptive parent, whoever, I'm gonna, what do I do to get my mom's attention? Uh-huh.
Mm.
How do I get it? If
Right.
I'm sad or overwhelmed, none of us come in with regulation tools, how to regulate our systems. We get that and learn that from others, but some of us don't get enough. Some of us get too much. And so I feel like when I look at adults in a culture that's trying to perfect and perform, it's just a need that's not being met.
Yeah.
So that's the beautiful lens of it. The pissed off lens is like, would you just stop for the love of God? You're already enough. You were enough before you got here. Like enough. Your mom loves you or she doesn't. There's somebody else that thinks you're great. But I think that's what the human experiment is. I think that's what this whole journey is. So, prior to getting sick, I was like a hustle mom in the sense
Mm.
of like always being there for my kids, not wanting them to feel disappointed, doing whatever I could to make sure their emotional needs were met at the cost of myself.
Yeah.
And so
It sounds like cancer was the on-ramp to choose you.
cancer was the boundary between me and my children.
Mm.
I could
Yeah.
sit in this bedroom and close that door and say, I'm sorry, I need to rest.
Yeah.
And that was my boundary. And I
Mhm.
needed boundaries before cancer, but I was too guilty to say no.
Mhm.
I knew sitting in that bed, if I was going to never be sick again, I had to develop the skills to be able to handle my children's disappointment because
Yeah.
otherwise I would always need some physical boundary. Now, that's my story. That's the belief I have about my journey. And so now that I'm cancer free for 2 years and there's no more illness in my body, I had to develop the capacity and the skills to know that choices I was making that were best for me were going to disappoint other people.
Yeah.
And I had to learn to sit with the disappointment, to sit with my children when they were disappointed, to let go and let them sit with their disappointment and trust that it was going to all be okay. They would be okay and I would be okay.
So
And
you're 2 years cancer free now?
2 years, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So were you diagnosed 3 years
I was
ago?
diagnosed in like January, February, March of 2024.
That's when
And
you were diagnosed?
yeah. And then I had treatment right away. And by that summer, so from March to July, there was no more cancer in my body. And by January of 25, I was walking
Wow.
again. I think that's right. And then that summer, I went on my trip to celebrate life. And then we're summer of 26. So that's 2 years from the summer of when I was last diagnosed.
Did you have surgery or did you have chemo or what was the
I did.
protocol?
I was someone that believed in the mind-body connection,
Mhm.
and so I remember listening to what the doctors said and thinking to myself, "This is not just a medicine that I'm going to need here." I remember asking if there was a way and seeking resources to say, "Do I need traditional chemotherapy?" In my particular case, the resources I relied on, both an integrative oncologist and a traditional oncologist, both communicated to me that that was a very pressing part of my healing journey. And so while I did traditional medicine, I also did EFT tapping, I did
Mm.
energy healing, I did acupuncture, I had some people do Reiki.
Mhm.
Um, I did traditional cognitive therapy. I had done EMDR prior to this. So there were a lot of tools in my tool belt to come at the disease that was navigating my body.
The 2 practitioners you had, I feel like you were really fortunate to have both of them in your on your team. Because most people, when they get to that point, usually, and I believe in both also. I do a lot of alternative, but I do believe in both. In your situation, or if it were me, I would do the same. Absolutely. Exactly how you did it. But how fortunate to have
Well,
both
what
on
I
your
can
team.
say is that they weren't in the same practice and they were under the same system, but I had to seek out the
Oh, I imagine you did. And they
So
would
when
not have.
my traditional therapy and my traditional chemo was done, it was kind of like a handshake, great job. And I was like, now what? I knew to go the integrative route to say, I've just stripped my body and just put a lot of chemicals in it to clear out. I need to rebuild. Like, what does my body need emotionally, physically, nutritionally, so this doesn't happen again? How much control do I really have? One. And with the control I actually have, what choices do I want to make for how I choose to live?
Did you work with like a nutritionist?
I Y My integrative oncologist was someone that guided the nutrients that I was putting back into my body to rebuild my microbiome,
And the
and
minerals and all of that?
yeah,
Yeah,
and
because you
so I
definitely when you strip it down,
and I
which you
can
yeah.
do my greatest challenge, honestly, is brain fog, because what happened with
Oh.
my cancer was I was 46, my cancer kicked me into menopause, and
Oh.
so when I was done, I was in menopause. And so I had to look at hormones. I had to look at a whole host of things like brain fog. There's chemo brain fog, and then there's menopause brain fog. And then I had a chemo onsetted, I don't think that's the right medical term, but chemo triggered my menopause, and it was the same time. So my my brain and my thinking is new to me.
Mm.
I want you to, I don't say this arrogantly, but I want you to notice, for those who are watching or listening, how often I pause before I say something. Because what was just happening there was I wanted to say, my brain sucks now. It's really hard.
Oh,
My thinking isn't great anymore. Like, I wanted to jump into this way of saying it. And I paused because I think to myself, I know the neuroscience now after going through cancer around beliefs. If you've never heard of a researcher, psychologist by the name of Nir Ayal, has a great book called Beyond Belief.
mm.
So I know that the words we speak becomes the wiring for what we see. And so if I want to see something different, I have to speak something different.
Well,
And
words can be spells also.
I absolutely believe that as well.
Yeah. Be careful what you say. Be careful what you ask for because they can be spells.
And so it's true. And this is the worst, hardest thing that's ever happened to me. And is that the way I'm going to say it every time I talk about this? When my kids were little, we would be at the pool. And I first started by saying, stop running. We don't run at the pool.
Mm.
And then I thought, we walk at the pool is the exact same thing.
Yeah.
My body is sick is the same thing as I am healing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what is the vibration, the energy, the
Frequency.
frequency of I am sick versus I am healing? Those two things are the exact same things. So often when I'm working in a community with clients, I listen to what they're saying and work on teaching them how to notice what they're saying and practice rewriting the story and the words to be more belief, possible, expansive. And then do somatic, creative things to wire that new story in. Because
Mm.
old ants, automatic negative thoughts, they're biological.
Yeah.
So if that's what your brain is doing all the time, most of the time, well done. You're a normal human. So it requires the intentionality to stop and thought and notice it and, "Oh, what do I wanna do with that?" Right? And you have to that's why I really loved we met in Kathy Heller's community. One of the things I loved most about her community were the intentional practices to rewire your nervous system to not automatically negatively reply and respond like it used to, but to rewire it to be softer and
Mm-hmm.
clearer and lighter.
Yeah.
Um, I did sound baths the majority of the time after I was done with my chemo.
Mm.
And I learned to vibrate differently
Mm.
so that when I experienced not a medical, but another challenge this year, and everything got really fast and hot, my nervous system could stay more neutral
Mm-hmm.
than catastrophize and freak out. And I'm sure there's a science word, the parasympathetic or sympathetic. I'm not sure which one
Yeah.
doesn't kick in, but
So
it's an
you don't go into fight or flight.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I
And
think human, that's a human experience, but to soften, to rewire, to control what you can try to control.
yeah.
So
Well, you talk about magic, and I know with my experience, and it sounds like with yours also, you do because you're almost I don't like the word forced, but it's like, okay, you're not going to listen. So, this stuff is going to happen. You're looking in the fridge and boom, you got to be present. You're not listening to us. But then when you're present and you completely slow down, magic starts to show up and it could be in all different ways. And maybe you can talk a little bit about some of the magic that came. I know one story that you kind of mentioned, and I'd love for you to share is speaking of Kathy Heller, that I believe your sister lives in, is it Switzerland?
Yeah, she
Maybe
does.
tell that story because that's a magical story. And it was after your cancer,
Yeah.
right?
So one of the practices that I had learned about prior to getting sick was through a woman named Mary Morrissey.
Mm-hmm.
And Mary is someone that I learned this from, and I've seen it everywhere. So, and Kathy teaches it too. It's writing the story as if it's already done. And so it sort of becomes a memory. Let me say what that looks like. So, when I was sitting in my hospital bed, I knew that I needed to write the finished version of how this was going to play out.
Mm.
And so I wrote literally down a memory, I created a future memory, and it was with my children, and they were older and their pigtails and their, softball outfits. And I knew the color of her hair and the sound when we were cutting the vegetables. I knew where my husband was. And I played that story over and over again. I wired my brain to believe it was true and let it pull me towards it. And we learned how to do that with Kathy. And one of the things that I believed on my journey was when I used language that when I was healed, I was going to be in Europe with my family and walking the streets. And so we were going to eat an ice cream cone and I was going to be holding hands with my husband. And it was a dream. Cancer was not easy on my marriage. It was a
Mm.
challenging season for us. And so to talk about holding hands with my husband and being madly in love was like, that's cute. I don't like you right now. You don't like me right now. And I didn't really want to be around anybody. I was like, I don't want to be in Europe with anybody. I want to be by myself. And there was no money. It's not like there was money hanging out. We're not putting money in a slush fund for me to go to Europe. There were a lot of choices that some people would have said are irresponsible. You don't, Dave Ramsey would be like, never should you do that. And part of me was like, when I'm walking, I don't know if I'm ever gonna, I don't know what's gonna happen. So when I'm walking, when I'm healed, I'm going to take this trip with my family. And so I did. And so we were in, my sister lives in Switzerland, and we did part of Switzerland. We were in, oh my gosh, I can't remember the name of the town. We were in this gorgeous hotel overlooking this stunning lake. It was the most blue lake I have ever seen in my entire life. And we had a lovely dinner and we're getting ready for bed. And I was, looking at some of my social media and I saw what looked to be something similar on Kathy's Instagram feed.
Oh, wow.
And I took a screenshot. And that next morning we were going up to, where is it? Interlaken. And I took a screenshot and I Googled the image and it was like Interlaken. And I was like, she's in Interlaken and I'm going there tomorrow. Now the community builder networker side of me is like, oh, I know how to meet Kathy Heller. I'm going to find out where she is. I'm going to go to our hotel. And I was like, no, you're not. You're absolutely not going to do any of that. You don't have to. You're going to meet her or you're not going to meet her. And that's okay. But what do you feel? I'm like, oh, I'm going to meet her. So we went to Interlaken. We get off our train and we have decided to go on, called it funicular, where you were like going up the top of a mountain. And I'm waiting in line with my family. My son was mad at me at the time. And the car, there's only one car that goes up and down at a time. So the car has to come down. And I'm standing there and all of a sudden I see Kathy Heller start walking down the stairs. And you know that feeling where you're like, do I say something? Do I not? I'm not going to say anything. And I was like, what? How would I not say something? And I was like, Kathy, Kathy, Kathy. And she's like, turns around. So we meet on the platform. And I was like, you're part of the reason why I'm here. I believed the women before me. I'm going to cry when this is. There were women before me that believed that healing was possible and that miracles were possible. And I let their belief build my belief when I didn't have the belief. So when I had cancer and I was diagnosed, I didn't have the belief at that point. I was borrowing the belief of the Marys and the Kathys that what and the Brene Browns who said I was enough before I felt like I was enough. And I was like, I borrowed your belief and I'm here.
Mm.
And so, like, even while talking to you, I know somebody's going to hear this and they're going to be like, I want you to borrow my belief. No, someone's going to need to borrow my belief because where they are, their physical circumstances that they're looking at right now look like crap. They're sick and divorcing and overweight and whatever it is, it's not beautiful or magical. And they're looking around going, what is this lady talking about? This is
Mm.
not. And I've been there. I know. And borrowing someone's belief that it can be more and better and learning the tools how to be present where you are and find the beauty where you are is what I believe is the magic of my story. I
That's
didn't
so
wait
beautiful.
till there was no cancer in my body. I
Mm.
was not walking on the seventh floor of a hospital and looked out the window and chose to think that there was something beautiful. The lights were beautiful. And I sat with that and I let the beauty fill my body. And that intentional practice, I truly believed helped to heal my body. And so, a woman is listening to this right now and she's looking around at so many circumstances that feel not enough. And there are moments of joy and beauty. It's not going to be the whole day.
Mm.
Sometimes it's just going to be a fraction. Got to be honest. Some days it might be hard to find that day, but it's possible. And when you begin practicing shifting to the beauty and the magic, then that's what you start to see
Mm.
all over the place. It doesn't mean there won't be hard things. I just went through a really, really hard thing this past year.
Oh.
And I chose to find the magic. What was here for me? I got curious. I asked intentional questions. It didn't unfold like I thought. And it's not the end of the story. It's not the end of the story. And so I share that in hopes to, I share my story, the messiness of it, the complicatedness of it, in hopes to be a source of encouragement because whether you believe, whether you think it's woo or whether you want to believe it's science, yes, and what you look for is what returns to you. And what I learned this from Near Eyal on the research of it. Our brains are just processing so much information all the time that it has to fill in the gaps for you to keep you moving and safe. And it's going to fill in the gaps based on your lens and experience. So it's very common to get in this loop that nothing's working for me, nothing's happening, nothing's coming together. And we have to intentionally practice noticing what worked, what came together, who was there, how it surprised you, what did you see, and wire that in. And then our internal system gets rewired to notice positive and good things the majority of the time. And then that's what we see and experience.
Mm.
So
So beautiful. Wow, you're amazing. Thank you for being so honest and authentic and vulnerable. I know that this is really going to touch some hearts and be helpful to some of our listeners. And I'm so grateful that you came on today. I guess a last thought, if someone is in that burned out, feeling overwhelmed, disconnected state, either with a diagnosis of stage 4 cancer or something else, where do they begin today and not tomorrow? If there's one thing, what would you say? One simple thing.
my first thought is you are not alone.
Mm.
You are loved.
Yeah.
I want to say it's not the end of the story,
Yeah.
that we as humans have more agency over our stories than we realize. And so, what I would love is for someone to sit and imagine what they would love.
Mm.
My friend did that with me. I was in the hospital and she said, "What would you love?" And I was like, I was mad. I was like, "What are you talking about? Stage 4 cancer. This is going to tank my marriage. This is going to tank my children." And she's like, "What if this could be the easiest version of cancer
Mm.
ever? What would you love this to look like?" She's like, "You can't change the cancer. It's here, it's happening to you. But what would you love it to look like?" And so I gave myself permission to dream something more beautiful than the pain I was in. And I truly believe that practice, the act of believing and writing a different ending, a more expansive and light filled, beautiful ending, is what then became what pulled me towards it.
What an
And
amazing friend.
I
So,
love it. Yeah.
so enlightened and actually very brave and bold to say that because many people would think that's not the territory and it's not appropriate and it's doom and gloom and there is no hope and they're scared because a lot of times when people are around people who have a pretty heavy diagnosis, they get in their own fear, they get in their own head and it's all about them. And you can't really get upset with them. Maybe that's also the human experience. However, they deflect. And I've had that throughout my healing process. I even have it today. And people say, "What are you talking about? You're healed." They don't believe, they still don't believe it. It's interesting, isn't it? But what a beautiful friend. That's so amazing. I'm sure you thanked her more than once.
I did, and I continue to. I feel grateful for that question.
Yeah.
It,
So
again,
profound.
got me into a place of noticing
Yeah.
and out of the overwhelm of the current circumstances and the current challenging circumstances to ask myself a more expansive question. And that
Mm.
was, what would I love? And what could it look like? What could it look like?
Well, I have to say, Jill, this has been so amazing. I'm so honored and grateful that you came on today. And it's going to be so fun and magical to see you continue to blossom, see what comes up of this. You said that you love to work with community, you love magic, you love taking the mundane and making it creative. I love to make mud pies. When I was a kid. And I imagine you love to play. And that's what it's really going back to, right? Is going back to that core of who we are, finding our soul purpose. And people say, "Oh, soul purpose, that's so woo. What are you talking about?" And until this journey, I did not really understand that. But it sounds like you are so close and you're so amazing. Your light is shining so bright. And I have to just say that you handled your cancer stage 4 and not walking with so much grace and positivity, but also authentic and real. I love the story about being in front of the fridge and just being pissed. Love that. Oh my gosh. I see a book.
Mhm.
And I see a book being dedicated to the friend that said, "What do you want? And how do you want to create joy?" And if it's not the book, then it's also adult coloring.
Mhm. That's the path I'm on right now, really, is kind of accompanying people on their journey. I've had beautiful friends and beautiful guides that kept redirecting me towards what was possible.
Yeah.
And so I really feel called to be a guide on someone's journey,
Oh, absolutely.
to help them see, reframe, to help them stay connected and positive, to help
Yeah.
them continuing to believe that they are enough
Mm.
and worthy to go towards what it is they feel passionate about. And to also, I think that women, I'm going to just speak for women, we have these things that we would love. And sometimes we think when we get that, then we'll feel something. And I learned on my journey to do a little exercise where I thought about what it was, the feeling I was going to get when I got the thing, and learned how to find it now and cultivate it now. Whether the thing came or didn't come, it was never really about the thing. It was about the feeling I was looking for. So
Yeah.
That's why I say oftentimes, like, what if the life you're searching for isn't somewhere in the future? Like, what if it's been here all along? What if you just need to notice it?
Well, that's quantum physics. It is. We have
I'm
all the choices.
passionate about
Mhm.
helping women notice more
Yeah.
and helping them to creatively and somatically rewire so that they can feel that joy now.
Oh, so
And
beautiful.
so that's what finding everyday magic really is about. That's kind
Mm.
of the path I'm on now. I don't know what that's going to look like. Is it a book? Is it a thing? Is it a right? Yes, and so that's what I'm finding now. So most people can find me right now. The safest place is on Instagram
Oh,
at
good.
my name, Jill Kane, K-N-E_ find everyday magic. And things are going to be coming, classes, mantra art, journals. Uh,
Beautiful.
and I'm giving myself permission to not mom boss, hustle, grind, but to take the next right step.
That's so
Sometimes
great.
that's slow and terribly unimpressive to an outside audience, but manageable and aligned at the
I love
same.
that. Well, we'll have all of that in the show notes. And thank you again. Thank you, fellow light keepers, and make it a beautiful day.